The moment he ceased speaking, we were in our sanctuary, the center room of the tall cross temple. We had scarcely composed ourselves when Jesus and a number of others, including our chief, entered the door that communicated with the ledge. As they entered, a great burst of light filled the room. Greetings were exchanged, and we were introduced to the stranger who entered with them. He appeared to be an elderly man, yet very vital. We were told that he was one of the Mooneyes, who had charge of the caves near Hastinapur. He was returning to that district and would accompany us. He had known the great Risha Vigas, and also had met Risha Agastya, whose hermitage isolated in that most lovely yet secluded spot. We were overjoyed at our good fortune. We formed a circle, and placing both hands palms down upon the table, stood in deep silence for a few moments. Although there was not a word uttered, the room was completely filled with a strange, pulsing, vibrating emanation. It was an entirely different sensation from anything we had ever experienced, and at first seemed to overwhelm us. The rocks pulsated and vibrated with a resonance, musical tone. This lasted only a few moments. When the stillness was broken, we were told that this morning we would see the creation of a universe in pictures. These pictures would be a representation of that which happened when our universe came into existence. We stepped through the door out upon the ledge and walked to the edge. It was still an hour before sunrise. The dead calm of the absolute silence enshrouded us. The time was propitious for the unfolding of another birth. We were looking out and out into infinite space, our souls eager and expectant. The Mooneye began by saying, "There are but two events in the world: that which was in existence before consciousness began to assert itself, is now, and ever shall be, and the things that humanity has thought and will think about. That which was before consciousness began is eternal, and that which humanity thinks is changeable and inconstant. That which was before consciousness began is truth. That which humanity thinks is truth to them. When the law of truth comes to consciousness, it will erase all that humanity has ever thought erroneously. As the centuries roll on and push back the material veil by the process of evolution, thoughts come through the mind of humanity that revert back to truth, or as we call it, the original cosmic fact. And these thoughts that fill the memory of the past, faced with the facts of the present, and overshadowed by prophecies of the future, stand out definitely upon the path of the whole evolving race consciousness. Thus the race is called back again and again to the original existing principle. By this return and repetition, humanity is shown that creation is eternal, the same with all mankind. But mankind's creatures are always changing, and they are under a manifestation of law called action and reaction. When human beings have gone far enough in their creation of creatures, the great absolute law of truth takes a hand in bringing them face to face with the original plan. Thus we see that cosmic law never allows life to run too far in a tangent. This law is always polarized in equalization, balance, and harmony. In spite of idols or creeds, it will crowd mankind on into complete union with absolute realities. All things that are not in perfect accord and union with actual existing cosmic fact must erase themselves when the absolute law of truth holds sway in the human consciousness. The thoughts of humanity are always so formed as to release their imperfect creations that are only born of half-truths when truth arrives. Cosmic absolute law must be fully satisfied. Thinking, speaking, or acting the law of reality is bound eventually to lead humanity into law or reality itself. The ancients tell us that every tree that the Heavenly Father has not planted within you will be uprooted. Let them alone, blind leaders of the blind. If the blind always lead the blind, shall they not fall into the same ditch? The cycle is fast closing, in which the blind of the whole race have led the blind into a welter of ignorance, superstition, and delusion, created by those who believe as human beings think, rather than that which is true and real. The civilization that has risen on the delusions and superstitions of the closing centuries is submerging itself in the welter. Through the pain and tragedy of their misappropriated creations, a new race consciousness has been conceived and is fast evolving. In fact, the door is opening wide for its new birth. There is no other course than to go on from one plane of consciousness to a higher and more advanced step in the actual cosmic path. The only condition forbidden in the vibration of the great cosmos is that quality of thought which allows the human race to become so solidly fixed in what it believes that if it clings desperately to its old delusions and will not let go, it can in no way come into the greater expanse of universal thought. Those thus absorbed in personal consciousness must go on through natural exhaustion of beliefs and experiences until they fail to go forward. Then, of its own accord, absolute law wields a progressive hand through disease, pain, and loss, until the human is satisfied and turns to find the curse of a false ideal within the ideal itself. If a race or nation refuses to let go of things created by a portion of human thought, instead of that which really exists, the law takes a hand in its progress by allowing the accumulated vibrations sent out by such a condition to reflect back upon itself through the light ray. Then, with war, strife, discord, and death on every hand, the race or nation is wiped out, in order that it may be placed again in a new uplift of creation. Thus it can begin over again in a new contact with that which was before the beginning of human consciousness. Civilization today is fast approaching a great reconstructive moment. All things that seem so stable and well-founded now will soon be emerged in a state of inversion. Every tree that has not been planted by truth will be uprooted. There is approaching a complete cosmic overthrow of the present social, political, financial, and religious institutions that will make room for the placing of the new era in order that humanity may come in closer touch with that which is and was established before the present human consciousness submerged and set it aside. Truth waits with attentive, loving, and radiant beneficence until man will see that he can embrace and become the consciousness of that which has always existed. Humanity is taking a forward step from the cradle stories of the former generation.